Hi everybody and welcome to Sassenach Quilts. Today we're going to make some cushions. I know it's really exciting. I got all the bits and bobs from the Newcastle Quilt Show. So we're going to use some William Morris fabric, which is just beautiful. You'll see that in a minute when I cut it. And we're going to make cushions that will measure about 17 centimetres square. 17 inches square, and that's because that's the size of the inner that I've got, so that's the size we're going to make. So what I'll need to do is I'll need to cut them to 18 inches square, and then we're going to use 1/2 inch seams all the way around the edge because the fabric is quite frayy, and we will use some mechanisms and some methods in which to stop the fabric from fraying. So please join me and don't forget to like and subscribe and ding the bell. It's fabulous that we've grown over 100 subscribers now. We're up to 104, so don't forget to tell your friends about us and to show them the how to cut the shirt video, which I shall put in the description box below, and have a look at my other content as well. And I hope that I will see you all watching and commenting and liking and subscribing in future videos. Okay, so let's get down to today's business. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the zips. Now this is one great big long strip of zip, and what I'm going to do is, using a pair of what I call old grotty scissors, I'm going to cut through it because this is metal. If you've got plastic, it doesn't matter. You could just use some kitchen scissors. This pair of scissors I'm not bothered about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it to 20 inches. The actual cushions are this, and that gives me a little bit of leeway each end. Now this is an open-ended zip, so I need to be mindful of that in my placement of my toggle. Okay, for the minute the toggle's in the middle. But as we go on, I will move the toggles. So we want two that are 20 inches long. So I'm just going to cut that there like that. There we go, that's the first one. And the other one, the other toggle's at the other end. So again, we'll line it up to 20 inches, which is about there, like that. And then cut this through like that. And like I said, those are the grotty scissors, so it doesn't matter that if any chinks or whatever get in it. So both of those are the same. Perfect. One's a little bit shorter than the other, but it doesn't matter. It's both all within the excess because it's there to there is the actual, that's the extra there. So this is the William Morris fabric that I got. It's actually proper upholstery fabric. It's not like quilting fabric at all. As you can see, it's sort of tapestry and quite thick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut an 18-inch strip off it and then cut the squares out of that and sew them together with a 1/2 inch seam. That's what's going to be different about this, and that's because the 1/2 inch seam will give us the extra, so that I can put a holding line and a holding line of stitching that stops all this fraying from happening. If you put like what I call the heartbeat stitch or zigzag on the edge of every single seam, it will stop it from fraying, and that's what we need to do. So I'm just going to get the fabric ready so that I can cut it out and show you. So I have the fabric now folded in half lengthways, and I'm just going to clip this edge because it keeps moving, which makes my life a bit more awkward. So if in doubt, clip the edge. Thankfully the edge that's being, the raw edge here, is actually quite straight, So that's really good. Now in order to cut it and to fit onto my board here, I'm going to fold it in half again, and I'm going to be very careful with this because I want it to be straight like that, and get that all lined up properly. And then we've got it at 18 inches there, 18.5 inches at that end, 18.5 inches at that end, and then we're going to take that one off, and we're going to get the, I'm going to take it up to 19.5 to give myself a bit more room, and cut it on the 1 inch like that. Now I'm lucky in that I can cut with both hands, so I'm just going to cut through here, and it's quite thick, like that, and doesn't want to cut, but that's fine. It's very thick. I think it's just about the thickest I've ever cut, so there we go. And any variation in that is only 1/8 of an inch, and that is within the seam allowance, so that's okay. Now we can move that one down there to 8, and that's on 18.5 at that end. So I'm just going to neaten this edge up as well, just taking 1/4 of an inch off, just to make sure that it's nice and neat. There we go. That can just go in the rubbish pile there. And then we can measure, turn it round and measure 18 and a bit the other way, and which is there. And this is how I'm just going to roll this up so that it takes up less space, so that I can get to the edges that I need, which is 18.5, which is there, and there we go. Hi everybody, so the observant amongst you will notice that I have a different jumper on, and that is because it's tomorrow. I made a beautiful video, it was amazing, it was marvellous, it was wonderful, but I forgot to press the record button. So this is the next day. I finished the other cushion, and this is the second cushion, so we should just carry on from where we left off. So we're going to now, we've got our 2 squares that are measured to the size of the inner cushion bit, stuffingy bit, and now we're going to attach the zip. Now it's right sides together, so make sure that you put the right side of the zip to the right side of the fabric, and you can either pin it in place, but I quite like the little clips. I think these are amazing things, and they're really good for binding and stuff like that as well, holding your binding in place, and they're just really, really useful. I'm not a great big fan of pinning, but these to me, because I find it moves when you take the pin out. So but this, I'm just going to open the end of this one so that it is straighter, and then we shall put that there. like that, and then we can hold the rest of that in place. So excuse me, I'll just take my slipper off because I can't sew in slippers. I like to be barefoot. So we're just going to lift up the foot again, and we're going to change it to the zipper foot again, because we need, for zips, you really are better off using the zipper foot. Now the zipper foot has this sort of square bit at the bottom, and it's got two sides. I'm going to put it on the left hand side, so the needle's on the left hand side, which means I'll get it right up against the teeth of the zip, right up against here. So, oops. So you place it underneath the hook, and then like that, like so. And then you just lower the foot down onto it, and if it's in the right place like that, it'll just lift up when you raise the foot back up. And we want a straight stitch, and I've got a stitch length of 2.5, and then lower the foot and away we go. Just make sure I've got enough bobbin thread, and I do, so away we go. Just a couple of back stitches and then forward again, and then as we get to the clips we can just pop them in the tin. To here, I'm going to raise the foot, and I'm going to get the zip like that. It can be a bit awkward getting it behind it, but it will go eventually. That's it, you just want it out of the way. There we go, like that. Line it all up again. Perfect. Lower your foot back down, and then carry on along, along the zip. I'll just trim that. Now, as I said, this fabric I'm sewing is really quite free, so I am going to trim all the bits that fray off whilst I'm sewing it, and then every single seam will be zigzagged to stop the fraying. And then we cut the thread and raise it out the way. Now this is an open-ended zip. It has nothing to stop it at each end, so I have to be careful of that. Now I'm going to change the foot back to the original one because I want to zigzag, and you can't zigzag with a zipper foot. So we'll lower that back down. There we go. Raise that back up, and I'm going to zigzag all the way along here to stop the tapestry fabric from fraying. So I need to set my zigzag stitch on my machine, which I've just done, and put the foot down, and I don't want it quite at 3.6, so I'm going to turn it down to about 2.5. There we go. And again, the stitch length is 2.5. And I'll just come like that. And then I'm going to hold it at the back as well, because I'm trying to stop it from coming off the edge of the machine. But I'm not pulling it, I'm just guiding it. you can see the stitch work across. It's not straight, but it doesn't matter. It's between the actual line of stitch work and the zipper, so it doesn't matter if it's not straight. Now I'm going to pull this back towards the middle again, because I'm now going to attach the other one. Well, there's the other one. Now we want the top of the, because this is directional, we want the top of the fabric, so the deer want to be away. So again, that's like that. Right side to the right side, so we'll turn that over. So it's on the bottom. Flip the zip so it's right sides to right sides, and bring it up to the edge. Match up the selve edges again on the side. That's it. And then make sure that the zip is hanging off the back, off the edge, so that you've got some overlap on the side. And again, use the little clips to attach it to the cushion cover. And everybody has a different method of doing this, but this is the one that I find best for me, so that I can remember to put the right side of the zip to the right side of the fabric. Because if I don't do it this way, I get it upside down. So the right side facing up, and then put the zip on top, right sides together. And there we are. And change the foot over again. And again attach it to the left side of the foot on this left hand side here. There we go. Back to straight stitch. And then again just go along the zip, just keeping a nice straight seam. And then when you get to the point where you want to get the zip past, raise your foot up and just ease the zipper through and past. And then once it's passed, you can then carry on. Now, my mum always used to hate putting zips in. She always had me do it for her. And those of you that I went to school with will remember our wonderful needlework teacher, Mrs. Lander, and it's her method that I'm using to put this zip in. So thank you, Mrs. Lander, for all those years ago for teaching me how to put a zip in properly. There we go. And then now what we're going to do, we straighten it out like this, and then what we're going to do, if I can get that like this, is we're going to put top stitch down each side. So we fold the zip over on itself like that, and then do a fine line of stitch work really close to the edge of the zip, and that will hold everything in place. And again, I will use the left hand zip space for this so that I can get right up against the zipper, and it will be perfect and pretty and looking pretty amazing. So lower that back down. And sort your... Now I know that there are other people prefer to do this differently. This is the way that I personally find this the easiest, so this is the way I like to use. And the whole thing goes through like that. As you can see, it just went straight past the zipper quite easily then, and you're just holding it in place. And then on the way back, I shall do the other side. Now I haven't done the anti-fray zigzag on this side, because you can just use a straight stitch, which is what I'm going to do. Oh, all my fraying edges all caught up, so let me just get rid of those. The fray threads are caught up on the back of the zip. So here you can see I've got zigzag, the stitch work attaching the zip to the fabric, the zigzag for the anti-fray, and then another line of stitch work where I put the top stitch in. The other side is just going to get the top stitch, because both work, both methods work. So is it cutting a corner? Probably, but as somebody once said to me about quilting, my quilt, my rules, my cushion, my rules. So, but it will work if you use this method. It will 100% it will work, and it shouldn't fray. If it does ever start to fray, then just go back and do a quick little layer of top stitch across, or zigzag like that. There we go. Again, be careful as I go past the toggle that it doesn't bounce under the zip. And just down straight across there, like that. There we go. Perfect. Now, so the stage we're at now is the zip is in place. So I'm going to put the zip into the middle, because if I sew all around the edges and I haven't put the zip to the middle, then the toggle's on the inside and you won't have any access to it. So we need to put it on the middle so that we have room to turn it out in a moment. So then what we do is we put our corners to be in corners, excuse me, and put a clip on it, and put a corners to be in corners and put a clip on it, and this just straightens your cushion out and make sure that your edges are together. And then I'll put another two down the side. Now this is going to get two seams around it. It will get the straight stitch all the way around, and then it will get the zigzag all the way around. Now you must be mindful of the metal part of the zip if you're using a metal zip. Okay, I am using a metal zip, so I need to be mindful of the fact not to sew over it, because it will break my needle, and I don't want that. I've had that once before, and once you've had it once, you don't want it to happen again. So I need to be very mindful of that. Change my foot again, because I'm done with the zipper foot now, so that can go back in the machine where it belongs. Now how I do this, and again there's more than one way, so find the way that you find comfortable. Put the normal open toe foot back on, and you can start quite near to the metal but don't sew on the metal, which is how I do it. And then what I'm doing is this is the selvage edge, so I don't need to worry about zigzag on the selvage edge because it can't fray. So this just needs one row of stitching, which is the straight stitch, so I need to make sure I'm on straight stitch, which I'm on, and just come straight down here. Take the clips off. Turn the corner, you literally just raise your foot and go through 90. Again, stop about half an inch before the edge, which is about there. Lift, raise the foot and turn through 90. Now I'm sewing back towards the zip. A good ½ inch seam allowance. Make sure those edges are together. There are markings on the foot plate which will tell you where your ½ inch seam allowance is, or whichever seam allowance you decide to choose to use. I'm holding the zip, I'm holding the zip together so that my edges are together, and then I can see how it needs to be sewn. So I'm coming right up towards the zip. Let's just stop there and then press backwards and forwards, and then press the cut, and then press raise like that, and then I shall come back to this corner. So that's the selvage edge there, which I do not need to put any zigzag on because it's got the selvage edge and it won't fray. So this one needs to have a good zigzag on it, so I want it to be 3.6, and so 3.6 is the stitch length side to side, and I'm going to have it on 2 because I want it quite dense because this is quite fray fabric. And you just, it doesn't have to be on the edge, it can be between the stitch work and the edge. Come along there like that, and then turn the corner, turn the 90, and come back this way, back towards the zip, and hope that your bobbin's going to last. Yeah, it is. Always slow down towards the end, and then I shall turn it back to straight just for the last few stitches and go backwards and forwards, and that's that. So that I cut the stitches like that. There we go. Now, because I left this open here, I can now get my hand inside to turn it back the right way. So it's a really quick and easy method of doing a cushion. Now, because it's quite free, I'm not going to cut the corners, because I quite like rounded, chunky corners like that. It's just a finger, and then because I don't want to encourage any fraying of this fabric at all, it's fraying enough as it is, so I'm just going to bodge it into the corner using my fingernail like that, and that's quite okay. And then at the top, I was going to close the zip, push the corners out again, and there is a method of stopping the zip from fraying. So on the right side of the zip like that, you get your stapler, put it across the middle like that, and put 2 staples in like that across the top of there like that, and that will stop the runner from going off the edge. And you can just bend that backwards like that. Perfect. And the same at this end. Now this one's a little bit more awkward, so I shall just flatten it out a little bit as much as I can, and again
put a staple, got a couple of staples across the end to stop that from going across. And there we have it, folks. There is our cushion. I hope you like it, and I shall go and get the cushiony bit of the cushion. So here it is. Here is the cushion. And my husband doesn't believe that you can make a cushion in like 25 minutes. He really doesn't. But you really can. The method of making it by doing the double seams will stop this beautiful fabric from fraying, and it should last us a very long time. We're gradually redoing all of the cushions in the lounge. So I'm really thrilled with this William Morris fabric. Now you'll know where I got it from if you watched the Newcastle Quilt Show video, because that's where I got it from, and I mentioned the name of the stall in there. I'll put it in the description box below. And I think it's based in Leicester, if I remember rightly. And here it is. It's a beautiful William Morris cushion. It'll look fantastic. It's got a really nice zip. If Jeff zooms in a little bit, you can see how the top stitching here just blends in completely. It's bright blue thread, but because there's bright blue thread in the cushion, you can't hardly see it. And that's all been triple stitched along there, so it's really not going to fall out. It's not going to fall apart. And if I open the zip as well, show you it's now got the form inside, and the staples there will just stop the toggle from falling off the end. So, because that's a nightmare I don't want to have. So you can put stitch work there as well. If you don't want to use staple to do the staple method, you can use just go over and over the top of like 10-20 times. And sew it in, and then it won't fall off the end either. But for me, staples work. So there we are. There is our William Morris cushions. Now let me go and put them on the sofa together, and then you'll see the finished effect. So here we are. Here we are in the lounge with the cushions on the sofa. The one in the middle is the one that I did on the long arm, and there's a video about that. I'll put a link in the description box below. The blanket on the end is the one I knitted, so I'll also put a link to that video. And don't forget to like and subscribe and ding the bell, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.